All right, 7:40, meeting is called to order. Can we all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of silence? I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You may be seated. Can we have a roll call, please?
Mrs. Kraus?
Here.
Ms. Jalal?
Here.
Mrs. Hollival?
Here.
Mr. Lady?
Present.
Mr. Lustig?
Here.
Mrs. Plank?
Here.
Mr. Walmer?
Here.
Ms. Young-Cover?
Here.
Mr. Weigel?
Here.
Thank you.
All right, there will be an executive session following this meeting for personnel and student discipline. Can we have a motion for approval of tonight's agenda?
So moved.
Second?
Roll call.
Mrs. Kraus?
Yes.
Ms. Jalal?
Yes.
Ms. Young-Cover?
Yes.
Mrs. Hollival?
Yes.
Mr. Lady?
Aye.
Mr. Walmer?
Yes.
Mr. Lustig?
Yes.
Mrs. Plank?
Yes.
Mr. Weigel?
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, moving on. Can we have a motion for the approval of the minutes for the board meeting on 1/21/2025, the minutes for curriculum and extracurricular committee meeting on 2/4/2025, minutes for business operations committee meeting on 8/2/4/2025, and there was not a meeting for policy.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Ms. Jalal?
Yes.
Mrs. Hollival?
Yes.
Ms. Young-Cover?
Yes.
Mrs. Kraus?
Yes.
Mr. Lustig?
Yes.
Mr. Lady?
Aye.
Mr. Walmer?
Yes.
Mrs. Plank?
Yes.
Mr. Weigel?
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, we moving on to recognition of delegation. We have a student representative report.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Ashley Rodriguez, and I am part of our student council. Here I would like, excuse me, to bring to the table things that are going on with Minithon. Minithon is not new to some of you, but I would still like to explain its importance. Personally, I view Minithon as an opportunity for students to be leaders in the fight against cancer, encouraging teamwork, creativity, and spirit in our school. As most of you are aware, there are numerous committees that collectively make Minithon possible, each with its own innovations throughout the years. This is a summary of the committees. Administration, in this committee, students collaborate with administrators. Publicity, the committees focus on creating, promoting, and distributing content about Minithon on platforms that will give it necessary attention. Finance, this committee is in charge of our stall day fundraisers and keeping track of all expenses and contributions. The T-shirt committee, students that participate in Minithon receive Big Rebel custom Minithon shirts to showcase Big Rebel's efforts in the fight against cancer. Chaperones, in this committee, is in charge of the recruitment and organization of chaperones so that every volunteer has a suited timetable. Decorations, these people design and paint festive posters and other educational resources that will be displayed in the halls of the school during the weeks leading up to Minithon. Food, my personal favorite, so this group contacts local stores to arrange for food that can be given out during the event. Entertainment, this committee organizes activities which include renting bouncy houses, video games, pool tables, and other forms of entertainment. Activities and tournaments. This team schedules competitions between volunteering students to make the day more interesting. In all, 46 students have volunteered to make Minithon happen this year. Although we are still conforming the figures, I may say that we recently organized a fundraiser selling farm show milkshakes. The student council were active participants of the sale, and we managed to raise around $300, in which will add towards our May fund total. Another key event is Stall Day, which is a fun and highly anticipated fundraiser. On this day, students bring in coins for teachers to count, and teachers cannot begin class until all the coins are counted. And this typically raises a couple of $100s. For the past few years, Miss Betsy Showers has been the reigning champion for having the most money collected in her class. So we'll see if she can defend her title this year. Stall Day will take place on Friday, March 21st. Normally this event takes place on a half day, but since there are no half days in March, students will need to bring in a lot of change to help stall class, and give that we will be on a full day schedule. And that may conclude what has been taking place in the recent student council. I appreciate your listening, and we will be hoping to count on your support in this wonderful undertaking. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, the State Horticulture Association of Pennsylvania, we have a report, I believe, a representative.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you very much for the opportunity to talk this evening. My name is Ellie Branich, and I'm standing here right now on behalf of the State Horticultural Association of Pennsylvania. I know it was in your meeting packets for the last meeting, but I just didn't feel right not taking an extra moment to really just applaud the district, to thank you all, and to applaud the students standing behind me and their other art students for their contribution to the Pennsylvania State Farm Show. In case you didn't see it, they helped build the apple mural, which has become a contender to the butter sculpture every year now. Our job at SHAP is to bring attention to apples, to get people talking about them, excited about them, eating more of them, and to educate people about why we as fruit growers do what we do, and why it's so important that we raise money so that we can continue to do research, so that we can continue to fight against all of the challenges in the industry, from growing practices and weather challenges to just keeping up with technology changes, innovation with new varieties and things like that. So the apple mural was a great centerpiece at the farm show, where we could really highlight apples and get people excited about them and talking about them. And we could not have done it with this crew standing behind me. And I just would like to give them the opportunity to talk for just a minute about their experience. I think in your board packets, you should have a presentation that has like a little time-lapse video of the actual creation of the mural, which is really fun to watch, as well as just pictures of the start to finish process. Which actually started 3 years ago. Mr. Dwyer and Scott Howell helped build the original framework that we've been using now for 3 years, and had 3 different designs. 2 out of the 3 years, students from Biglerville helped design and build that mural. So I'm honored to be a canner and to be able to participate and cooperate with the district in this way through the industry. And I'm just grateful to the district for you're embracing the spirit of giving these kids real life examples of how things they're learning in school can apply and be really important in the real world. So thank you. And this is Haley, who actually designed the mural this year. I'm gonna let her talk for a little bit, and the guys behind me too.
My name is Haley Smith, as you just heard, and this is Patience King. I was the one that designed the apple mural this year. I'm also the president of NAHS, which is the National Art Honor Society. This year, I thought that me getting chosen to do the mural was honestly probably like the best thing that could have happened. I saw like majority of the designs, and they were all great. and I'm honestly shocked that mine got chosen. And the process when we were making it was, I loved the atmosphere. Everyone there was having so much fun. And honestly, it just really, I'm glad that you guys let me make the mural this year and chose my design, even though you didn't really know it was me.
We had a lot of help, which was really nice. We got it done pretty quickly. People were surrounding the outside before it was revealed. It was just really cool to see people standing to watch the art that Haley created.
Hi, my name is Caden Kessel. I want to start off by saying thank you to Ellie and the opportunity. Given this opportunity, we are able to further extend our knowledge and skills in the shop. It started out as just sheets of plywood and 2x4s, and then we had to start by putting screws. How many screws did we put in, guys? 1,400 screws into plywood, and then put the caulking so they didn't strip out, and we could use the mural for years and years. So doing that, we got a new shop project and something to do, and then along with that, we got to go up to the farm show and set it up. So that's more time and more knowledge gained. I also think it's very important that we get opportunities like this to advocate for agriculture in our community. I'm not a fruit grower by any means, but I'm more of a grain and hay farmer. But the apple industry in this community is so important. So it's great that we can advocate for it.
Thank you all. Do we have any questions or comments from the board for the group?
Just congratulations, it was awesome, so,
Yeah,
good job.
guys.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you.
It doesn't come together without a lot of work. Thank you from everybody. Thanks for all you did.
I was helping at the fruit growers stand right next to that, and a lot of people came and asked where the apples were. Like, they didn't ask for the butter sculpture, they wanted to see what you all put together.
Thank you.
very much.
And then, real quick before she leaves, Patience King, congratulations.
Yeah,
Great game tonight.
I'll say, woo!
Thank you. All right, our next delegation, I'm very interested to hear this one, is Soul Sisters. And Ms. Buckley.
I would like to introduce and welcome our Soul Sisters group that we have at the Intermediate Building. They're going to go into a little more detail about the group and what their purpose is and how long we've been doing this, but it's been quite a while. I wanted to make sure that I recognize those coaches that are a part of the Soul Sisters group, because this is all volunteer time. They're after school hours and it's strictly volunteer. So I'm going to name those teachers who volunteer their time for Soul Sisters. So Mrs. Wilkinson, Mrs. Herzog, Mrs. Yarger-Reed, and Mrs. Altoff, who are here this evening. Mrs. Karn, Mrs. Deerdorf, Mrs. Bennett, and Mrs. Patrono. All those teachers volunteer their time. So I just want to make sure they're recognized, because I think it's really important that they continue with this and get recognized for that. So I'm going to ask Mrs. Wilkinson to come forward and tell you a little bit about our Soul Sisters.
Hi, thanks for having us tonight. Soul Sisters is offered to 4th through 6th grade girls. It's an after-school program. It runs for about 8 weeks, and we meet from about 4 o'clock to 5 o'clock. We focus on building stamina for the girls to run 2 miles, which is our final run. But more importantly, we really discuss the second half of the program. So about half hour is building stamina, and the other half is talking about important issues that girls in 4th grade through 6th grade face. Those issues are ranging from healthy eating to gossiping, hygiene, positive body image and confidence, coping strategies, and what it means to be a good friend. This year was our 19th year with Soul Sisters, so we take a lot of pride in that. We had about 60 girls participate this year for our building, and this was all made possible through the Upper Adams JCs and the Canner Funds. Every year the Canner Funds, we've been some type of recipient. We've received multiple grants for hygiene bags, which we find is extremely important with girls this age. Just how do we take good care of ourselves to build our confidence? We also received Canner Funds for journals, and this year we got it for our healthy eating. So our end celebration was a yogurt bar that we got to have healthy food and celebrate a year, a season with our girls. As Mrs. Buckley said, we couldn't do this without our volunteer coaches. 60 girls, that's a lot of girls, grades 4 through 6. So every year we have multiple coaches who are willing to give their time to help this, and many of them do not have girls of their own, they have boys. So we know it's important when we get to pull in some of those teachers who know the importance of being a girl as a teenager. We have a couple of our girls here tonight. They did create a video, so it's a play.
I really like how it's a group learning project where everyone gets to participate in it. I like how to take care of my body. I like doing the 2-mile run. It was really fun. I learned not to gossip and talk bad about other girls. Because of all the coaches, something I really like about Soul Sisters is running. I like how I ran a lot more. I learned not to gossip about other girls, and running was the best part. I learned to be good in sport and have great attitude. I learned to like myself better, and I really enjoyed the running. I learned how to eat healthy. I learned to like myself more and to be nice to other people. Thank you to our coaches for making this all happen.
And I did ask for a parent to come talk because we try to make sure Soul Sisters isn't just about the girls. We try to make sure we include some family activities, so they do have some weekly challenges, such as healthy eating, exercising, water intake instead of soda, and screen time. So Ellie is going to just come and give a parent perspective of our program.
Hi again, still Ellie Branich. This time as a parent of a daughter in 4th grade who was super excited to sign up for Soul Sisters Club for the first time this year. I've been involved with the Canner Funds for a long time, so I've been a part of it from that side of it and supported it from the grant side to give money to this organization, but never had that connection to exactly what it is until my daughter had the chance to be a part of it this year. She's an active kid who loves to play sports, but just heading outside to go for a jog was not something she had ever done or expressed interest in doing before, even though I'm a runner myself and run quite often. But from week 1, she came home excited to share what they had learned that week, and she was just increasingly aware of the topic of the week, and we talked about it throughout the week, and we filled out our worksheets about what we were eating, and she lectured me about drinking too much coffee and drinking more water, and all the things. I could just see it trickling down into our day-to-day relationship, which was really cool. And we headed out for runs together pretty frequently throughout the period of the program. So navigating the ever-changing landscape of raising a girl in this day and age is a challenge, and I'm just starting that voyage. But I love that a program like this exists to help instill and reinforce these real-world topics with our girls from people who aren't just mom, from people they look up to and really appreciate that they can learn these life lessons. I know that this program doesn't come without a significant investment in time and resources. All of these teachers who stay after school and plan and prep I don't even know how much time goes into it, but I know it's a lot, and I know they just do it because they care, and that means a lot to me as a parent, as a member of the district, and I think it's really impactful that they're willing and committed to doing this. So just from a parent of a child, I want to thank everyone who sees worth in a program like this. I hope we can continue it going for years to come. I couldn't believe it. It's been 19 years already. That's amazing. So I'd love to see it continue for many more. Thank you.
Okay, our girls are very quiet, so we are going to end with our chants. Go ahead. Come on, girls. Come on, girls. We're on the run. We're on the run. We got soul. We got soul. And we're having fun. And we're having fun. Go Soul Sisters. Do you have any questions?
Yeah, any questions?
I don't have a question, but I do have a comment. Thank you, Mr. Weigel, for allowing this evening. I helped run with the girls this fall, and I have two takeaways. The first week, most of the girls whined and complained that they couldn't possibly do this. And by the 8th week, they were racing around me. We're going to beat Mrs. Hollabaugh. It was amazing to watch the progress and just the camaraderie and just the positive vibes that came out of those girls. And my other takeaway is the input from these teachers. Let me tell you, when those doors open and 60 squealing girls come out, it gets your attention. And these women, I mean, they're on it. They are on a mission. They know what to do, where to do it, how to do it. It was just an amazing thing to see. So kudos to you teachers, and yay 19 years, let's do it 19 more. Thank you. Thanks all of you.
Mr. Weigel?
Yes.
Yes, I just wanted to say, as a former cross-country runner, I know firsthand how important running can be for self-confidence and for health, and I think this sounds like a fantastic program. I'm very proud to have that part of our district.
Thank you. Any other comments, questions?
Are you all running in the cold?
Yeah.
You're not running in the cold. Well, that could be your next challenge. Be in the 20s tomorrow.
And the wind.
And the wind.
We'll pass. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Ashley.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
Ms. Wilkinson, can you hold on? We're gonna get a photo with all the girls out in the back, if that's okay.
We need that.
Okay, public comment. Statement, the Board of School Directors encourages comments from community members during the citizen comment section of the agenda. Upon being recognized by the board president, an individual should state her name, confirm that they are either parent, guardian, resident, taxpayer, district employee, district student, or anyone representing a group or firm in the community, and may speak to the board for a period no longer than 5 minutes. No participant may speak more than once on the same topic unless all others who wish to speak on that topic have been heard. Questions posed during citizen comment will not be addressed during the meeting. If a question requires follow-up, the board president or superintendent will follow up individually. The board requests that neither complaints concerning job performance nor allegations of misconduct relating to specific employees or students be raised at a public meeting. Such concerns should be referred directly to the superintendent. The board will conduct its meeting civilly and respectfully. All citizen comments deserve the same respect from both the board and other meeting attendees. At the discretion of the board president, verbal disruptions, commotion, or other disrespectful comments, behaviors may result in a verbal warning, termination of the comment, board recess, or termination of all citizen comments. The speaker, Ms. Callahan. Got it. Thank you.
My name is Leslie Callahan, and I'm a district resident and a former employee. Tonight, Policy 109.1 is up for a second read, and it will probably pass and become the new policy. A certain faction of the board will rejoice, but the vast majority of the public will be very upset. A large and very vocal majority will be totally ignored by a small group of people. Is this how democracy works? No, it isn't. It isn't supposed to work this way at all. Many people have voiced their displeasure with this policy. Many have spoken before the board, and signatures have been collected to show that we, the people, do not approve of this policy rewrite, but to no avail. We have been totally ignored. As board members, I feel it is your duty to listen to the public and vote for what the public wants, not what you want. Even if you disagree with public opinion, your duty is to vote the way of the majority of the people. The board has not listened to one word we've said. Their attitude is, damn the torpedoes, full speed ahead, which was said by Admiral Farragut at the Battle of Mobile Bay during the Civil War. But current and future apparatus students won't know that because of the profanity. You claim the backing of a large group of people, but where are they? Why are they not showing up and speaking out? I don't think they really exist because they no longer support you in this effort. And those who do support you do not even have children in the district. Case in point, Ms. Cover-Young, who homeschools, and Mr. Lustigs, whose granddaughters come for a band lesson only, although I've been recently told she no longer participates in band. If the school district isn't good enough to send your children here, why do you care what is in the library? Why are you even on the school board of a school district you don't approve of? Why do your opinions seem to matter more than the rest of the people who have children or grandchildren enrolled in brick and mortar schools in the Alpharetta School District? Not one parent, or grandparent for that matter, has complained or spoken out against the original book policy. People who actually send their children here don't see the need to change the policy. We have only seen about 5 people speaking out in favor of the policy, and 3 of them are relatives of Mr. Lustig. Speaking of which, his granddaughter, who doesn't go to school here, went into the library and, without any difficulty at all, easily found books with excessive sexual content and or profanity. How much do you want to bet that she was sent in there with a list of books to look for and where to find them? It's really easy to find them if you know what to look for. By the way, everyone should question when an adult tells a child to go into the library and look for specific books that they claim to be explicit. It was all a setup. I would bet that most students don't enter the library with the express intent to find a book full of profanity or sex. They are there to find a book for a course assignment, or research, or to get the teacher off their back. I know that students go to the library once a week to pick out a book, but sadly, we have no proof that they actually read it. Unfortunately, kids today are too busy with homework, sports, work, and social media to sit down and read for pleasure. I know I was too busy in high school to read for pleasure, and social media wasn't even around back then. I don't think the students even realize there could be books with excessive profanity or sexual content. At least they won't until it's pointed out to them, which is exactly what identifying them and removing them will do. You've heard of the concept of the forbidden fruit? That's exactly what they will become, forbidden fruit, and everyone will want it. I believe I heard the board will task Ms. Starner with identifying and weeding out the offending books. Just when did they expect her to do this? Her days are already full with teaching and running the library. She is already working 2 jobs. There aren't enough hours in the day. She certainly isn't going to do it on her own time, unless maybe the board tasks her with a substantial pay raise. But I'm getting distracted from the real issue here, which is that this whole debacle could have and should have been a non-issue. The current policy is not ineffective, it isn't broken, it doesn't need to be fixed. So many hours have been wasted on this issue. There was absolutely no need for any of this. One man's sensibilities are offended, and we have wasted hours and hours. And then, when a compromise is reached, he breaches the hybrid policy to once again demand that his demands are met. I've asked this before. Why does he think that he and he alone can dictate what others read? What others have access to? It's none of his business, none whatsoever. If he doesn't want to read it or have his family members read it, fine. He has no right to say what I read or my family reads or what anybody, for that matter, in this room reads. None whatsoever. He sees himself as the savior of us all. He thinks he's saving us from a great evil. If he gets his way, what's next? School-issued chastity belts? It's way past time to put this issue to rest. It infringes on too many people's rights. His rights aren't the only ones that matter. More people have spoken out against the change in the policy than have spoken in favor of it. Doesn't that tell you something? Listen to the people. I and many, many others think the policy rewrite should be dropped altogether and just left as it is. It is a fine policy as originally written, and it is doing the job it was intended to do. It is keeping indecent books out of the students' hands. Let's stop all this nonsense right now. Remove the policy rewrite from the agenda and move on to something important. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Reports, for LIU Board Report, Dr. Bell.
You should have that in your packet of information. If anybody has any questions, I'd be more than willing to respond to them or go to the IU for that. Nothing? Okay. Then that concludes the IU report.
Thank you, Dr. Bell. Federal programs, Mr. Alvin.
Good evening, everyone. Just two major updates this evening. Well, not major, but they're important. One is the funding adjustments will be coming up here in March. Just a refresher how federal programs works. We get an estimate, for lack of a better term, in June of each year of what we can expect for federal programs. And then around the March time period, sometimes it goes in April, but usually in March, we get the final numbers. And then we have to go back and adjust our budgets to match those numbers. Usually they're only off by a couple thousand, which might seem like a lot, but not in comparison to what we get in the budgets. It's not too terrible for us. We've had years where it's been more significant, but I don't anticipate that this year. So looking forward to that in March, and I'll let you know how we make out and what the new numbers are when we get them. The second item is next week, next Wednesday, actually, I'll be going to Adams County Christian Academy. Part of the federal program's requirements is that public schools that have students that attend non-public schools, we need to go and audit them to make sure they're using our federal program dollars correctly. So in the past, you've heard me talk about St. Francis quite a bit. We actually don't have any students at St. Francis this year. We're now at Adams County Christian Academy for the first time in my tenure here. So I'll be joining the IU at that venture next Wednesday, and we'll be auditing them in the morning to make sure they're using our funds appropriately.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any questions for Mr. Alvin? Ms. Kraus, Cumberland Perry.
The JOC does not meet until next week, so there is no report.
Ms. Holloway.
No report other than the Soul Sisters.
And that was a great report, by the way.
Thank you.
Moving on to administrative reports, Mr. Kerstetter. Anybody have it? Oh, do we have any questions? Sorry, do we have any questions for the report? Sorry, I didn't mean to put you on the spot. Sorry about that. I'm still new at this. Do we have any questions or comments under the reports for the administrators?
I'll make a couple comments. I guess I'll start with Mr. Kerstetter. So what can you talk about? What can you tell us about the bread making and math?
Yes. So the bread making is a great experience for the kids. We have a group come in, they're called Loaves of Fun, and what they do is they guided 100+ first graders through making bread. And within that lesson throughout the morning, the kids, they talked about measurement and the importance of measuring accurately, that things come out right. They have the science component, with they talk about the yeast and how it makes the bread rise, all those kinds of things. It was a great morning, and the bread actually came out pretty well, you know. So they did a nice job with it. Flour everywhere, but, you know, kind of to be expected. But it was really an excellent activity for the kids, and they really enjoyed it. So,
Cool. And congratulations to everyone that received their golden apples.
absolutely.
Mrs. Buckley, want to hit a little bit on January Respect Month?
Yes, our school counselor, everyone has a different character trait that she's looking for and we're promoting throughout the building. And so we just had, January was respectful, and so the teachers then select students who are displaying that character trait in their classes, and they get recognized on the announcements, and get featured in a newsletter that goes home to all the parents. Our council puts out a newsletter, and those are the students, so I put that in so everybody can see our respectful students in our building. So every month we'll have something different.
And congratulations on 25 years participating in Art Month.
Yes,
No, Jump Rope for Art.
I know Jump Rope for Art is happening in Greenville Elementary as well. And I just got an update on how much money has been raised for the Hearts building has raised $4,283.45.
Get out.
Wow,
So we are really pleased with that.
it's awesome. Just say for Mr. Brewer, he's not here, but congratulations to all the honor roll recipients. Looks like it was good numbers. A lot of distinguished and high honors. Good for them. Mrs. Graham, Cumberland Perry. Some kids are doing very well there.
Yes, they are.
Yeah.
Yes. We had students of the quarter, for quarter one and quarter two, Bria Deschanel with our early childhood education program, Natsarelli, Guzman Reyes for dental assisting, Haley Orner in the World Studies, Social Studies program, and Cody Spothauer for diesel technology.
Cool. And congratulations to everyone that received their Lions Club awards.
Yes.
That's awesome. And then Mr. Graham, he's not here, but just congratulations on winter sports. Congratulations girls basketball team tonight. They advanced to second round of districts, so I think that's at Trinity Friday night, so congratulations to them. I guess boys wrestling, they're sharing a title this year with, you know how that was, or sharing the title with another school, two schools. I think it was a three-way split. Yeah, but they're in the individual now, right? And I think out of 13, 8 of them advanced this weekend, so congratulations to them. That's all I got.
Thank you. Anybody else have any questions for the report?
Yeah, I just wanted to mention to Mrs. Graham, you mentioned in your report about the block scheduling. I think it's going to be a great thing. Is the plan to start it next school year? No? The following school year, okay.
So teachers this year are participating in professional development, and then next year are in-service days, they'll be planning for the following year.
Yeah, I imagine it takes a lot of prep and course scheduling and so forth. I think it'll be a great thing. I'm glad you mentioned it. That's all I had.
Thank you, Ms. Rowland. Any other questions or comments for the administrators?
I was just actually impressed that in the photos, there wasn't more flour on those kids.
You would have seen it right when we were done, the whole.
I was like, wow, they look kind of clean.
Yeah.
All right, thank you. Thank you all for your reports. Moving on, Mr. Walmer, treasurer's report. Oh, I'm sorry, I did miss the superintendent report.
That's okay. I completed the day-long building-wide visits, 3 of those visits throughout the last 2 weeks. A very exciting time. Some people say, okay, so why do it? Well, number one, we provide a nice breakfast as well as a nice lunch for the staff in the building. And why do it? Because they're the ones that are busy educating and promoting all the things that our kids do, and just a few that you saw tonight. So it's really as a thank you, first and foremost. Then as an opportunity for me to meet everyone. And those are great interactions to have, to know that as we make decisions administratively, who you're directly going to impact beyond the students, those staff members, what you're going to ask them to do, when you're going to ask them to do it. In addition to that, I asked them, you can discuss anything you want with me. And so could collect input about what we're doing well, what we can be looking at, what we need to avoid touching, so to speak, as well as I had pointed questions of, okay, the most important question I would have if I was a staff member here, what do you want to see in the next superintendent? Or what don't you want to see in the next superintendent? So they were very open and honest and able to share. And because I spent from the beginning of the day to the end of the day, it gave an opportunity for people to come and visit, eat. They didn't have to ask me a question to eat, but I did think about that. But they were very open, very honest. And so when I look at those things, I say, okay, well, what did I learn? I learned exactly what I thought I was going to learn. This district is excellent. You have excellent people leading excellent programs for excellent kids that come from a very strong and really supportive community. Those were the things that I would expect to hear. Those are the things that I did hear. The one thing that you have that sets you apart is your atmosphere. Don't ever change that. Everybody has a positive thought process. Everybody has the ability to look at what's right, and everybody has the ability to help fix what they think is wrong. And we're all in it together. So when I looked at this, I said, okay, how would I summarize this? The district offers and achieves more than any other district, who are even larger in size in both population, staff, and finance. So hats off to you. And also, the one thing that we don't do real well in education, but we're getting better as you saw tonight, brag. We need to brag and celebrate. We need to make sure that what we do, we share with others. And Richard, you're doing a fine job now that you came in, posting what we send you in the press. That's been the focus. These administrators have done a great job putting things together and making sure we are sharing what we've done, what we've achieved, what we're going to do, and embrace and explore also the future skills that we're going to need for these students to go into the future. So in those very 3 short days, I learned a significant amount, and it didn't change my thought process about the people that you've selected to serve the community. So hats off to you as a board. Keep up the good work. To the staff, the administration, keep up the good work. To the students, continue to achieve beyond where you ever thought you could achieve, and things will move along just fine. And you'll get yourself one quality superintendent who will help lead that into the future. And that concludes my report, unless there's any questions.
Thank you. Very encouraging. Thank you.
Any questions or any comments for Dr. Bell?
I would certainly endorse and appreciate all that you said. Very, very encouraging to me, just as Mrs. Hollaball just mentioned. I especially appreciated your comment about atmosphere, and that is crucial for the educational process, and so I'm pleased to hear that report, sir.
Any other comments, questions? All right. Treasurer report, Mr. Walner.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm going to combine 3 items on the agenda tonight. Item 12.1, 12.2, and 12.3, financial report ending January 31st, 2025. The food service fund statement of operations ending the end of January as well, and the student activity fund ending the end of January. So I'll request a motion to approve those 3 items.
Second.
All right, do we have any comments, any questions on the treasurer report? Okay, I hear none, so roll call, please.
Ms. Young-Cover?
Yes.
Mrs. Kraus?
Yes.
Mr. Walmer?
Yes.
Ms. Jalal?
Yes.
Mrs. Plank?
Yes.
Mrs. Hollaball?
Yes.
Mr. Lady?
Aye.
Mr. Lustig?
Yes?
Mr. Weigel?
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, under consent agenda items, Mr. Walmer, finance. Okay. All right, so we need a motion to approve the entire consent agenda.
So moved.
I do not have my notes ready tonight, so I was a little bit excited from the basketball game. So
With good
please
reason.
forgive me for tonight. I will be better next week or next time.
I'll second that motion.
Thank you. Any questions on the, or comments on the consent agenda items?
Mr. President, there's one thing I want to pull out and discuss a little bit, and that's item 13.1.1, the capital listing. Do we want to take a vote and then, no, never mind. I want to clarify what we're voting on tonight. Is it to approve the entire list that's presented on the agenda? Or is it to approve some items? Or I just want clarification for the board on that.
So are we gonna pull that out and then discuss? Okay.
Yeah,
So can I
yeah,
have
okay.
a motion to, I need a motion to pull out,
Okay.
and then a second, and
That's
then.
right. I'll make a motion to pull out item 13.1.1 for further discussion.
I'll second that.
All right, any questions? All right, roll call.
Okay. Mrs. Kraus?
Yes.
Ms. Jalal?
Yes.
Mrs. Hollowell?
Yes.
Mr. Lady?
Aye.
Mr. Lustig?
Yes.
Mrs. Plank?
Yes.
Mr. Walmer?
Yes.
Ms. Joan Cover?
Yes.
Mr. Weigel?
Yes.
Thank you. Now we'll go back to the capital list. So what's included in the agenda for the capital list would be the roof restoration, the wheelchair lift, the ductless system for the IT room, athletic field line painter, the replacement of the desk collector, turf field permits, the parapet wall, middle school carpet replacement van. So we have the priorities. So everything listed on the capital list is what we are bringing and asking for a recommendation for approval in the order of the items that of the priority that are listed as well. But once again, before we move forward, we would bring those items to the board for approval for the costs that would be associated.
Okay, so if they're going to come to the board item by item, then we really don't need to approve this list tonight, other than, approve that it's on your radar for consideration in future meetings.
It
Is that
especially
fair?
helps Mr. Graham plan for the
Okay.
summer, especially with the priority items of one. Because of the roof restoration, which we already did approve at the intermediate school, but the wheelchair lift and the dust collector, those items are going to take time, and we might have to engage engineers as well. And so we can have those things ready for the next school year.
So for clarification, the ask for the board is to permit the administration to continue to go forward to research these items. And then you would get an actual number that would come back to you and an approval or denial by the board. So it's simply the ask is letting us move forward. If there's an item on there that absolutely positively you don't want to go for, then we would pull.
Perfect, sounds good to me.
So in the case of the turf field permits, is that something that falls under the donor and the feasibility study and all that? I'm still not clear on the turf field and what we're approving here.
I think that's a school district cost at this point.
So we're saying.
Right, at this point, it's a school district cost. So we had 85,000 that was in the budget for replacing the track. And so we're taking that 85 and then moving that to the turf field permits. The permits are good for 5 years, so that allows us to, prepare for the next couple of years, if and when the project moves forward.
Thank you, Neil. I know you've explained that to me numerous times. Thank you, I appreciate
Yeah, so
it.
under the permits, it's the architectural and all the, soft costs up front to get that started.
Regarding the roof restoration at the intermediate school, I believe that's a multi-year plan to complete. Is that correct? And if so, how many years are we looking at ahead for the final completion of the project?
For the roof restoration at the intermediate school, this is looking at the roof restoration that was not completed as part of the renovation process. And with that, we're looking at the whole thing because we do have a facilities grant that will pay 75% of that. Once again, we had to pay upfront, then we will be reimbursed at 75%. And then the district will be responsible for that remaining 25%.
Okay,
So at
thank
the
you.
intermediate school, it's the whole roof. That's what the recommendation is.
So, just to be clarified for me, we have, excuse me, 2.5 million in our capital reserve right now. And I go back to last year, obviously when the board was brand new, and there were things on this list that were postponed because there wasn't funding for it. I can think of the tower, the radio tower as one thing, and were some of those things difficult to accomplish because there was a delay in approval?
So with the tower, there was a slight increase in that delay in the cost, and that is still being worked on. The components have not been added to the tower. They're looking at that for this spring for completion. So that's the only project that is still remaining open from the current 24-25 capital list.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think anything on this list is unreasonable. I just want to clarify what we're voting for, and if it's the case, because, you know, we're sitting in February right now. A lot's going to happen between now and whenever the budget is put up for a vote. So, you know, I don't want to put the school district out there for this giant sum of money when we don't know what's going to happen. So, you know, in the ensuing months, we'll vote on the items individually and go from there. Seems fair. So, thank you.
So then we then need a motion and approval to vote on the capital listing.
I'll make that motion, Mr. President.
I'll second it.
Any other comments or questions before the vote? Roll call, please.
Ms. Young Cover?
Yes.
Mr. Walmer?
Yes.
Mrs. Kraus?
Yes.
Ms. Jalal?
Yes.
Mr. Lustig?
Yes.
Mrs. Holliday?
Yes.
Mr. Lady?
Aye.
Mrs. Plank?
Yes.
Mr. Weigel?
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, consent agenda, personnel.
Yes,
Mr. Lustig.
personnel, turning our attention to 14.2. The board has before them a variety of subheadings that have information presented there. If any board member would like to discuss any particular item, I would suggest they ask for that now, and we can discuss and vote. If not, I would suggest that, in the interest of time, that we consider the entire personnel issue and vote for the aggregate. I would make that motion.
I'll second Mr. Lustig's motion.
What's that?
So we skipped one, I just gotta go back. That's all.
There was a first and a second to approve everything under 14.2.
Do we have any comments or questions under personnel 14.2? I accidentally skipped ahead. I put personnel over finance.
It's the
Again,
second time.
It's the second time, I apologize. It's been a rough week in the game, but anyways, we'll come back to finance, I apologize. So we are personnel, we have a first and a second for approval under personnel. Do you have any questions, comments? All right, roll call.
Mrs. Holliday?
Yes.
Mr. Lustig?
Yes?
Mrs. Plank?
Yes.
Ms. Young Cover?
Yes.
Mrs. Kraus?
Yes.
Ms. Jalal?
Yes.
Mr. Lady?
Aye.
Mr. Walmer?
Yes.
Mr. Weigel?
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, now I'm gonna backtrack. Now we're back on track. 14.1, Mr. Walmer.
Thank you, Mr. President. There's four items in the agenda tonight, two of which, and I'm going to do the same. I'm going to wrap this all up in a bow, and we're going to vote on the whole list together. But two things I wanted to mention. Mrs. Hobbs, the T-Mobile contract is going down by 2 lines, I guess, from 60 to 58. Do we still have hotspots? This was a discussion a year, 2 years ago. Are they still in that mix?
We do still have hotspots, so we have decreased the number. We were up to about 200 at one point, so they have decreased. The IT department does manage those for our students that need them for schoolwork, et cetera. There are some staff members that have it, and also they're in our Go Packs if we would ever need that to evacuate the building.
Okay, so the trajectory is correct? It's going
Yes.
down? Okay. And I assume they're all needed at this point and?
Correct. We have a
Justified.
much better handle on the hotspots than we had in the past.
Good, I'd forgotten it was over 200. During COVID, it spiked a lot.
Correct.
The other item on the list here, and again, I'll go back and combine them all for a board vote, is item 14.1.4, and this is the J.P. Harris contract. This is the collection agency for the school district, and this contract is prompted by the school lunch debt issue. So the agreement is going to be, codified, I guess, with J.P. Harris tonight. And we had talked, or we, meaning I had mentioned taking the top 10 highest offenders. So I think that's the direction we're going. But I just wanted to mention the collection procedures real quick, and there's 5 of them that J.P. Harris is going to take out, that's going to take place by J.P. Harris. And I'll just read them here real quick. They're going to start out by sending 2 notices to those who have outstanding debt. If those aren't answered, a representative's going to go to the resident of the debtor's house. Third step is they're going to offer a payment plan to make so that the debt can be paid back in payments. Fourth, if there's no action by that point, J.P. Harris is going to file complaints with the district justice, and they'll also attend hearings on the school district's behalf. The final step here. That is the final step. They'll just adhere to all applicable federal and state laws, rules, and regulations, and so forth. So I just wanted to outline that process that's going to take place. So if there's any comments from the board, we could hear them. If not, I'm going to make a motion to approve item 14.1.1, 14.1.2, 14.1.3, and 14.1.4.
Second.
Any comments or any questions for Mr. Walmer?
I personally have a problem with the collection agency. It just seems to go against taking care of students and their needs. It's just a personal, I realize the debt is huge and it's not right, but I also have an issue with not feeding kids and going after their parents.
Any other comments? Any questions on the process? Okay, roll call.
Mrs. Kraus?
Yes.
Ms. Jalal?
Excuse me, are we voting
Yes.
on all of these?
Yeah, if you want to,
Yes?
if you just want to vote,
Yeah.
if you want to vote on just the J.P. Harris
Uh-huh.
contract itself,
I should have pulled that
then you
out.
should pull that.
I can
Yeah.
make that,
You just-
I can make that motion.
Just make another motion to
I'm
approve
sorry.
1, 2, and 3.
Okay.
Okay.
I'll make that motion to approve 14.1, 14.2, and 14.3.
Thank you.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All right, roll call, please.
Mrs. Kraus?
Yes.
Ms. Jalal?
Yes.
Mrs. Hollowell?
Yes.
Mr. Leedy?
Aye.
Mr. Lustig?
Yes.
Mrs. Plank?
Yes.
Mr. Walmer?
Yes.
Ms. Young-Cover?
Yes.
Mr. Weigel?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, now I'll make a motion to approve item 14.1.4, which is the J.P. Harris contract.
Second.
Any comments, questions? All right, roll call.
Could,
Oh, I'm
can I
sorry.
ask, sorry,
Sure,
can
go
I
ahead.
ask Mrs. Hollabaugh to repeat what she said earlier? It cut out and I feel like it was important.
I just said I struggle with it personally. Having a collection agency go after the parents or families of a child who is not paying for their lunch. I just feel like it's an exact contradiction from what we should be doing, and that is caring for our students and feeding them. I'm aware it's a really big problem, and it's certainly not right, and I'm not condoning that parents are choosing to not pay for their children's lunches. I just have to assume that there's some reason that that is happening, and I just don't feel comfortable utilizing a collection agency to go after that funding.
Thank you.
My only comment was, I mean, we have tried other options, correct? You sent letters out informing parents that they had a debt that was owed, and that didn't really seem to produce any results. So it's kind of like one of those really tug and pull sort of scenarios where it is unsustainable to keep, you know, snowballing a debt that, you know, we would either have to pass that on, we're passing that on basically to other people to cover, which, I don't know, it is very much a dilemma. But I feel like when other options have already been tried and been unsuccessful, we're kind of at the end of the rope, so to speak, as far as things that we can do. Unless somebody else has any other ideas.
No, I appreciate where Mrs. Hollaball's heart is, and it's in the right place. And, you know, there has been certified letters sent, you know, there's been phone calls, et cetera, et cetera. It's just, you know, I think we have to draw the line at some point, and this is the line. And, you know, I hope we don't have to use them. I hope that they don't really need to get used much. Maybe the message will get out there, and others will say, okay, well, it's time to pay up. And I know it's like $8,000 is just the senior class, if I remember correctly. So, you know, a big chunk of it may come in very soon, and perhaps we won't have to deal with the collection agency too much.
Do we have children that bring their own lunch as perhaps an economy effort by the family?
I can say yes.
All right, thank you for the comments. Any other comments before roll call? All right, roll call, please.
Mr. Lady?
Aye.
Mr. Lustig?
Yes?
Mrs. Plank?
Yes.
Mr. Walmer?
Yes.
Ms. Young-Cover?
Yes.
Mrs. Kraus?
Yes.
Ms. Jalal?
Yes.
Mrs. Hollabaugh?
No.
Mr. Weigel?
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, 14.3, property, Ms. Young-Cover.
Which for some reason I can't get to, hold on, there we go. So, this is just a recommended approval for some items, surplus items from the Ag Shop Department. These items are actually going to be for sale, and there are some attached photos of the items with descriptions of those items. And if anyone would be interested in looking at those items and interested in purchasing them, they can contact Ms. Miller. So I'm recommending approval for those items to be put up for sale.
Second.
Any comments, any questions? All right, roll call.
Mr. Lustig?
Yes?
Ms. Jalal?
Yes.
Mrs. Plank?
Yes.
Mr. Walmer?
Yes.
Mrs. Kraus?
Yes.
Mr. Lady?
Aye.
Ms. Young Cover?
Yes.
Mrs. Hollowell?
Yes.
Mr. Weigel?
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, 14.4, transportation, Mr. Lady.
Yes, make a motion to accept the new drivers being added to the driver's list for Jacoby's as listed in your agenda, manager.
Second?
Any comments, questions? All right, roll call.
Mrs. Plank?
Yes.
Ms. Young Cover?
Yes.
Mrs. Kraus?
Yes.
Mr. Lady?
Aye.
Mr. Walmer?
Yes.
Ms. Jalal?
Yes.
Mrs. Hollowell?
Yes.
Mr. Lustig?
Yes.
Mr. Weigel?
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, committee reports, action items. I did not see anything under 15.1 curriculum, 15.2 athletics, or 15.3 student activities. Which will bring us to 16 policy review. Ms. Kraus.
There are no first read policies because we had no meeting last month. I recommend approval of the following second read policies: 109.1, selection of materials for libraries, media centers, and policy number 249, bullying and cyberbullying.
Second.
Any comments, any questions on 249 and 109.1?
I'd like to say a few things just before we vote on 109. Back in the beginning of all this, I sat here and I said that we were trying to fix a problem that wasn't broke, and I still do believe that. I do believe that quite a few board members have sat here in total disregard to our community. We've sat here for almost a year listening to our community tell us that they didn't want this, and total disregard. You know, our last public comment we had, I think there were some things said that weren't actually true that I'd like to clarify, and Mrs. Callahan already kind of identified some of those. You know, a student did come in and get some books out, but she approached the librarian with a list, told the librarian that the list was for her father, and was asked why, and he said because she identified that because of the board thing going on with the books. These books were Ellen Hopkins books. Those books are in every library in Adams County. They are maybe an edgy book. I'm not a book reader, so I can't speak for that, but that's what I'm being told. Our rules in our library have been in place, and when that whole incident took place, our librarian called home to the student's mother. And the mother said, yes, that was fine. We check all the books that she brings home. So those rules are being followed. We're trying to change something that's not broke. I don't really know what else to say. I mean, I do feel we've wasted a lot of time. This board has wasted a lot of time, a lot of energy, a lot of money, a lot of volunteer time by teachers, our librarian, for the last year, again, trying to fix something that was not broke. So it's about all I have to say. You know, and again, that student that also, just to clarify, is a homeschooled student. And then by our policy, homeschool students aren't supposed to really hang around, but I believe it's out of the goodness of our administration to allow her to just hang around between periods because she was here for a class and then she was staying for sports practice. But I believe the way the policy reads, those students are supposed to leave the building as soon as their class is over, but I think our administration was extending an arm of being good and good heart to allow them to hang out and not make their parents run back in. So kind of backfired. I don't believe everybody's aware of all those situations, and it definitely wasn't told to us that way in that public comment. So just want everyone to be aware. Thank you.
All right. Before we move on, Ms. Kraus, do we want to separate those two policies out?
I'll make a motion that we recommend approval of 109.1, selection of materials for libraries and media centers.
Second.
Any other comments or questions on 109.1? All right, roll call, please.
Mr. Walmer?
This is for 109.1, correct?
109.1, correct.
Okay, yes.
Mrs. Plank?
Yes.
Ms. Jalal?
Yes.
Mrs. Hollival?
No.
Mr. Lady?
No.
Mr. Lustig?
Yes.
Ms. Youngcover?
Yes.
Mrs. Kraus?
No.
Mr. Weigel?
Yes.
Motion carries.
I'd like to recommend approval of policy 249, bullying and cyberbullying.
Second.
Any comments, any questions? All right, roll call.
Ms. Youngcover?
Yes.
Mr. Walmer?
Yes.
Mrs. Plank?
Yes.
Mr. Lustig?
Yes.
Mr. Lady?
Aye.
Mrs. Hollival?
Yes.
Ms. Jalal?
Yes.
Mrs. Kraus?
Yes.
Mr. Weigel?
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. There's nothing under miscellaneous agenda items. Moving on to 18, payment of bills.
Second. Oh, I'm sorry. I make a motion to pay all the bills.
I'll second, Mr. Lady.
Second.
Do we have a second? Any comments, any questions on the bills? All right, roll call.
Mrs. Hollival?
Yes.
Mr. Lady?
Aye.
Mrs. Kraus?
Yes.
Ms. Jalal?
Yes.
Ms. Youngcover?
Yes.
Mr. Lustig?
Yes.
Mrs. Plank?
Yes.
Mr. Walmer?
Yes.
Mr. Weigel?
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, nothing under old business or new business. So moving on to items 21, general information. The curriculum and extracurricular committee meeting will be on 3/4/2025 at 6:30. The business and operations committee will also be on 3/4/2025 upon the completion of the curriculum and extracurricular committee meeting. And the next policy committee meeting will be on 3/6/2025 at 9 a.m. 21.2, the next regular school board meeting will be 3/18/2025 at 7 p.m. So, do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you. I will be better next time.
Before you adjourn to the executive session.
Yeah, the executive session will be immediately after this in
Where is
the learning commons, right? In the learning commons.